Welcome back to The Breakfast Show. Now, over the past few weeks, we've been talking to you about the various aspects of writing a will, from the hows of distributing your assets to choosing the right executor for your will.
Now, through a will, you can directly state how you want your property distributed and to whom your assets will go. But it also has another advantage. You can also name the guardian of your children.
Now, deciding who will raise your child in your absence is one of the toughest decisions you'll face as a parent. So to talk us through this topic, please welcome back in the studio Mr. Yap Ming Hui. Good morning.
Mr. Yap.
Good morning, ladies. Thank you for the introduction. Okay. So today I would like to talk about how do you appoint the right guardian for your children. Now, have you ever wondered what happened to your children, or who will take care of your children in the event of your death? Well, especially your and your wife or your spouse's death. So that's where guardian come into the picture. Guardian is someone that you appoint to take care of your children in the event of your death, but you do it during your lifetime. Okay, and now we talk about children. Of course, we talk about infant children. So infant children is different between Muslim and non-Muslim. For non-Muslim, anyone who is actually less than 21 years old is actually infant. Okay, so this infant may not be too infant. But for Muslim, infant children is those who are actually less than 18 years old. Okay, so we also must take note that for the will, when we actually appoint someone inside to be a guardian, this is someone who to replace you, okay, as a guardian in the event of both you and your supervising parent of your children, which is your wife or your husband, pass away. So there are three parts I want to talk about it today. Number one, what does actually guardian do? Number two, actually, what I want to talk about here is that what are the questions you need to ask when you want to appoint a guardian? And number three, what are the possible choices for a guardian? Number one, what does guardian do? Basically, there are three main things the guardian do for you. Number one, guardian actually support and maintain your children, which essentially means that your children will be staying together with the guardian that you actually appointed. Number two, guardian make medical decision, which means to say the guardian actually make decision as to what are the medical treatment supposed to be given to your particular child. Number three, the guardian also decide what education to be given to your particular child, which means to say whether it's a national school, private school, or even Chinese independent school. So that's what actually guardian can do and decide for your child. Next, we need to talk about what are the questions that we need to ask when we want to actually appoint the right guardian. Basically, I want to share 4 questions today. Number one, we need to ask whether the candidate is likely to live for many years after you pass away. Now, whether he is actually too old or whether he's actually not in a good health to really take care of your children. So you need to make sure someone you appoint actually is someone who actually can live longer than you. Number two, does the candidate have the time to raise your children? If I think in a situation whereby there's actually a double income parents that you want to actually appoint as a guardian, then you may actually very doubtful whether this particular candidate that you actually appoint can take care of your children. Okay. Number three, proximity. Where does the candidate live? Does the candidate live in the same town, same city like you, or whether they live in Singapore or even Australia? Because if you were to appoint a guardian who's actually living in Australia, chances is that your child will be living together with this guardian to be together in Australia. Is that what you want? You really need to think about it. Or you want some guardian who can take care of your children in the same city, same town that we are living now. Number four, values. What are the candidates' view on education, on religion? I think ideally you want to actually appoint someone who shares the same religion that you are. If you're a Christian, I'm sure you want to consider a candidate who's also a Christian, so that the children will be brought up in a Christian kind of environment. So these are 4 factors you need to ask yourself when you want to appoint a guardian. Next, what are the potential choices that we can consider when we want to appoint a guardian? So basically, we can consider naturally our parents, our brothers and sisters, our relatives. It could be your best friends, or even your elder children. So which means to say, if your elder children, actually they are above 21 years old, they can be the guardian for your minor children that you have. Okay? So importantly, when I talk about will, when I talk about guardianship and things like that, I'm not talking about technical subject about guardianship or will. Basically, I'm talking about who will take care of your children that you really, really love in the event of your death. And that's a real issue whether you have a will or you don't have a will. So I would urge you, if you have the will, go and review the guardian that you appointed, whether it fit in the criteria I mentioned just now. If you don't have the will, I would suggest get a will done, appoint a guardian, make sure you continue to love your children even that you're no longer around. So always remember, smarter you, smarter management, and this is what I have to share today. Over to you, Joanne and Daphne.
Well, thank you. That was very informative.
Yeah, but Mr. Yap, just, going on, you mentioned a guardian, but is it possible to have two people? Can you make a list of guardians in your will?
Basically, in your will, you can actually appoint a guardian, okay, or you can actually appoint a joint guardian, okay. But the challenge of actually appointing a joint guardian is that when you have two guardians, then your child need to be decided to stay with which particular guardian.
Right.
So then the two guardians say that stay with me or don't stay with me. So you have a problem in that sense. So there's a good and bad of having joint guardianship.
Right. So what just, painting the worst case scenario, if the guardian that you have appointed in your will also passes away while your child is an infant, you can have a backup though, right?
Yes. So this is where that when you actually appoint a guardian, because what I mentioned just now, your surviving parents of your child actually is a natural guardian. Okay. So the guardian that you appoint in your will actually is a substitute to the surviving parent of your child, okay, which is your wife or your husband. Okay. So, but in addition to that, just to be on the safe side, just in case you, your wife or your husband, and plus the guardian you appoint also travel at the same time, it may be an accident, then you may have a substitute, okay, to that. So this substitute guardian can come into play in that situation.
Now you're talking about parents, which leads me to the next question. You suggest that guardians can be the parents, the siblings, or the elder siblings, or the sister, brothers and sisters, uncle, aunts. How about if it's someone who's not a family member?
Some of my clients, they actually go to the extent to appoint their good friends, okay, to be the guardian. Of course, if this good friend continue to be a good friend, continue to be a good friend to the family, of course, I think this person can be a right candidate for guardian. But sometimes I also see that this good friend may be a good friend for now, but after a few years, this person no longer be a good friend. So, just in case that happens, please don't forget to review your will to make sure that the guardian that you appointed in your will is still valid.
Right.
No?
Okay. Also, what if, say, for example, you were a single parent in the sense that you had gone through a divorce and you're no longer on good terms with, say, your husband, and you want to exclude him from being the guardian of the child if you pass on. Can that even be done?
Theoretically, it can be done. Basically, actually, in the way, what you actually need to do is that you actually appoint a guardian, and you specifically mention that I do not want, the surviving parent, which is my ex, to become the guardian of my children. But then again, then in that case, you appoint a substitute guardian for that. But that actually was subject to actually the court decision.
I was just going to ask, can you fight it in
which
court?
Which say that when you actually go to court, then there will be actually a fight. There will be actually a case to be heard by the court to decide ultimately, to see whether that actually the surviving parent of the child actually will be removed as a guardian. Of course, there must be some reason why the person needs to be removed.
What about if you don't pick a guardian, if you don't elect a guardian? Like, for example, in the States, you have child welfare and social services that can come and take your child. What happens in Malaysia?
In Malaysia, situation, I think, is quite, I would say that quite horrible in a sense, because for me to think about it as a parent myself, it's quite horrible in a sense that because when you don't appoint a guardian at all, so the court will be the one who will decide who will be the guardian for your children. And some of my clients, they always actually give me the challenge to say that, it's very difficult for me to appoint a guardian because I look at my brothers and sisters, I don't seem to find a perfect guardian.
Or you don't want to offend one person.
Yes.
If you don't pick one of
them. But the question is that if you yourself, knowing the best of your family, knowing your children, and you have difficulty appointing the best or perfect guardian, guess what? Do you think that the court or the judge have any idea about how's your family situations, your children's best interest to appoint a guardian? So Every time when I see some actually client situations whereby I'm going to actually let the court decide who to be appointed guardian, is always a wrong choice. So exercise the right. Appoint a guardian using the will that you have got, so that you can be sure your children, your loved one will be taken care of in the event that you are not.
Now,
there.
speaking of exercising your rights, you were saying for non-Muslims, it's 20 years and below, that's considered an infant, and for Muslims, it's 18.
18 years old.
Let's say we take an age 18 years old, the guy is 18, and he, something happens to his parents, and then he goes and he gets, he goes under the custody of his guardian, but he's not happy, or he just doesn't want to be with, and he prefers to be with someone else, his grandmother, for instance. Can he dispute that will?
Are we talking about the non-Muslim case?
Non-Muslim.
So we're talking about as long as someone that is under infant age, which means to say a non-Muslim, anyone who's actually less than 21 years old, he's not considered adult. So basically, when he wants to actually apply for school, get medical treatment, where to stay, even getting married, he needs to actually get approval of the guardian.
I see.
So only when he actually grow after 21 years old for the non-Muslim, then only is considered adult, whereby he can decide what he wants to do.
So he has to just listen to
the so-called guardian.
The so-called guardian.
So he's 21.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah. What about foreigners? Can you appoint them as guardians?
Basically, there is no one that you cannot appoint as a guardian.
Right.
Okay, but the challenge is to really appoint someone who really can take care of the children according to what you think is the best for the children.
Right.
In fact, some people actually some Muslim actually have a misconception to say that there's no point for them to have a will because they cannot distribute the asset and things like that. But they do not actually know that they can also use their wasiat to appoint the guardian for the children. So which means to say, if you do not care how your asset to be distributed by the law or things like that, and you got no control about that, but at the very least, if you care about your minor children or your infant children, you should at least have a will, just achieve one purpose: appoint the guardian in the event of you and your husband pass away.
Well, surely you want to choose a guardian that is ideal, the perfect person. But let's say, it's a big responsibility, especially if the guardian doesn't have kids of his or her own. Do you need to pay the guardian to look after your children, or how does it work?
Okay, basically to raise the children, the guardian actually will work together with executor to take the money from the children's entitlement, to pay for their school fee, tuition fees, their maintenance, medical fee, and things like that. So this money all comes from the children's entitlement. But sometimes some of my clients, they may want to actually pay some allowance to the guardian because the guardian may have to spend some time, some opportunity cost, to take care of the children, because otherwise they can really do part time, to get some more income and things like that. So they may pay, like for example, 500,000 ringgit. 1,000 ringgit per month as an allowance, straight directly to the guardian as an allowance for the opportunity cost. This will actually help to reduce the burdens of the guardian. So that's why actually you can actually pay guardian, specifying how much you want to pay inside the will.
What about trust funds? If you've left your child a trust fund of, say, a huge amount of money, what does the guardian does the guardian have any say at all over that money?
Actually, this is a very interesting question. Actually, if you happen to come from actually a wealthy family, you pass away, you can see your siblings or family member may be fighting to become the guardian. Because in both cases, when they become the guardian for the children, they also end up become the executor or the trustee for the trust fund. So you can see that I can be the one who spend the money, I can be also the one who actually issue the own check. So the idea is that the best practice when we actually want to actually just do such a planning is to appoint a separate person to be guardian and a separate person to be trustee for the trust fund. Then you have a check and balance. One person, the guardian, who's supposed to say spend 3,000 or 5,000 per month to maintain the kid. Then this guardian will ask from the trustee who take care of the money bank account, issue a check. This is 5,000 a month or 3,000 per month. This is it. So you can see there's a check and balance. Otherwise, that I'm a guardian, I'm a trustee, I hold an account, I can do whatever I want. And then the children's interest a lot of time will be sacrificed, and there's nothing they can do until they become adult. When they realize and they want to take a legal action, it's all too late.
They might not have any money to take the legal action with.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Yap. This is very enlightening.